How much do you use the autopilot feature? Was it worth the purchase? Today I will be answering that question and many others. So when we bought our Tesla Model 3, we purchased the full self-driving capability upgrade for £5,800, which when you convert that into US dollars, it's about 7 grand. So it is an expensive upgrade, and I get a lot of people asking me, is it worth the money? So I thought what I could do is I could just go through each of the things that the full self-driving capability has, and I'll let you know how often I use each one of them. So every Tesla just comes with basic autopilot included, and that is defined on the Tesla website as enables your car to steer, accelerate, and brake automatically for other vehicles and pedestrians within its lane. So every car gets that. You don't have to pay an extra £5,800 for that. But in the full self-driving capability, you get navigate on autopilot. This is defined as automatic driving from motorway on-ramp to off-ramp, including interchanges and overtaking slower cars. It'll overtake slow vehicles, it'll move back in the lane once it's overtook. So basically, when we're driving on certain motorways, it doesn't work on every motorway, and I don't quite know why, but sometimes you can click navigate on autopilot. And if you're in America, the car, when on autopilot, will change lanes automatically. But if you're in the UK following current EU laws, all that navigate on autopilot does is tell you that you could overtake if you wanted. So then you move your indicator to say, yeah, go on, I'll overtake, please. The car moves you into the other lane, you overtake the slow vehicle, and then it's meant to go, do you want to move back into the first lane again? At which point you would turn the indicator on and move back into the first lane. But what I've found navigate on autopilot does is it just doesn't move you back into the first lane again. You kind of just end up in the middle for ages. Eventually it will tell you to pull back in, but generally it says that you should pull in way later than I would pull in if I was driving the car myself. So navigate on autopilot at the moment with current UK regulations, it's rubbish in my opinion. All it can do is tell you to change lanes. I know I can change lanes, and if I'm not on navigate on autopilot but I am on regular autopilot, what I do is just the same, which is pull the little indicator and then the car pulls me out and we drive off. Now navigate on autopilot will also take you onto the motorway, so from the ramp it'll indicate and it'll pull out onto the motorway. In my experience, most of the time this is crap at the minute, so I've tested this. I've initiated autopilot right before we're about to get on the motorway, and it doesn't bloody pull us out. It just kept us on the slip-on road until the slip-on road completely disappeared. I've tested that feature multiple times, and I'm at the point now where I just don't use it because I don't feel 100% confident, and I have more confidence in myself getting us safely onto the motorway than I do navigate on autopilot doing it. So yeah, navigate on autopilot at the moment, not good. So auto lane change is also listed. At the minute, we don't have auto lane changes in the UK. You have to initiate every single lane change by pulling one of your indicators. Next thing the full self-driving capability comes with is auto park, both parallel and perpendicular spaces. So we have done a few videos on auto park, and I'll let previous Jack kind of show you what he thinks of that. Auto park cancelled. Mate, there's a lamppost there. Okay. Oh my god, what's it doing?
Oh my god. Jack. I don't think that's a good idea.
What was that? We're gonna hit the curb. We've hit the curb. We have 3 cars waiting. Jesus Christ. Can you hurry up? For the love of God. There are 4 available spaces in front of me, and there are 3 cars. What should we reverse into this tight space? Go on. Go on. Go on. Come on! Just go a little bit faster, please. I'm so sorry. It made contact with that mirror. The tiniest bit of contact, so we're absolutely fine. But Christ almighty. I've never been more stressed. I don't know if Autopark was only tested and designed in America, where car parking spaces are much wider because people generally have bigger vehicles. But in the UK, with how tightly packed certain parking spaces are, I just don't have any confidence in it. I feel like most of the time Autopark's going to try and park, not be able to park, then abort, and you're just stuck in a really awkward area, and you have to take over and try and fix the car's mistakes. And then the last thing that comes with full self-driving capability, which once again is a £5,800 upgrade at the moment, is Summon, which is the thing where you press a button on your phone and the car will start driving where you want it to go. So you can press a button that just goes forwards, you can press a button that just goes backwards. So we've made some really fun YouTube videos testing Summon and Smart Summon. We did a video a few months ago finding out whether Smart Summon would run our friend over or not.
Jack? It's turning.
But most of you that are considering purchasing a Tesla, you're not YouTubers, so being able to make fun YouTube videos with this feature isn't relevant to you. So I guess the question is, how often have I used Summon when not filming and just for practical reasons? And I can say that I do actually use Summon. I use it every single time I want to reverse my car out of the garage because I have a really small garage. So it's more convenient for me to stand outside my garage with my phone, just hold down the reverse button and get the car to pull out of the garage, rather than me having to slide into the garage, which is a really awkward tight spot, and then just reversing the car out from the driver's seat. Now what I will say is, when I first got the car and I used Summon for this, once you press reverse, the car would just reverse all the way out and it was great. But now, after many software updates, which have apparently improved Summon, this takes about 4 times longer than it did. For some reason now, it does a little bit of a reverse, then it just stops, and then it says on the app, Summon is stopping for like 20 seconds or something. And then once that's finished saying Summon is stopping, you can press reverse again, and it'll reverse a little bit further, but then it'll stop again. And this happens about 4 times while reversing the car out. So it takes me about 2 minutes for my car to be reversed out, which is just really inconvenient. I'm assuming that the reason this happens is because the garage is a really tight space and Summon is just making sure that it's not going to collide with anything. And obviously I'd much prefer that it takes a while than my car gets scratched every time it comes out of the garage. But what's frustrating is this used to work perfectly, but now for whatever reason it just takes longer. So that's everything in the full self-driving capability upgrade. And what's sad is I've said something negative about every single one of them. Now, what is really important that I point out is that these things should improve, and having full self-driving capability means that in maybe 2 years or 3 years time, with software updates and more relaxed regulations in the UK, I might have a car that will 100% drive itself from A to B. I might be able to get in my car and it drive me to my grand's house without me having to do anything at all. Now, I'm guessing it's probably going to take longer than 3 years for that to happen, but it means that when it does, my car can do that, whereas all of the people that haven't purchased this upgrade, their car won't be able to do that and they'll just have basic autopilot. But I am pretty sure that you can purchase this upgrade once you've already got the car. So I guess what my advice would be is that if you're loaded and you can afford full self-driving capability now, just include it with your purchase, because then you've got everything already, and Summon is a really, really fun gimmick. I've shown it off in YouTube videos, I've shown it off to my friends and family. It's really fun. But if on the other hand, this is a little bit of a tighter purchase and you're trying to save money where you can, don't buy full self-driving capability now and instead purchase the upgrade when you're able to in the future, because that is possible. Just like I upgraded my heated rear seats from within the app, you can also purchase full self-driving capability from within the app. At the moment, I don't think it's worth £5,800, but the laws and software updates are changing and improving all of the time, so I am confident that it will be worth the money at some point in the future. The autopilot that just comes included in the car, that's the big thing. That's the game changer. That's what's unreal. You don't need to buy the full self-driving capability upgrade to have autopilot, because it just comes in all of the cars, and that's what I do find myself using regularly. I use it every single time I'm on the motorway, and I even use autopilot on 60 roads as well when I'm stuck behind a slightly slow vehicle. Right, bloody hell, we talked about that one for ages. Sorry, Editor Becky. Let's answer some more questions, and hopefully it won't take quite as long as that did. How was the paintwork on your Tesla? Lots of people say the body/paint work from Tesla is shoddy for a £50,000 vehicle. Was that your experience? So I don't have any footage of this because it just wasn't something I was focusing on at the time. But there were a couple of issues when I first purchased the car. When we got home, we realised that just on the front left bumper, there was like a little bit of what looked like red paint. Just a small splattering of red paint that was probably about the size of the top part of my thumb. You see that little fella? So it wasn't a big amount, but that is not acceptable really when you've spent this amount of money on a brand new car. But fortunately for us, Becky was able to just scratch this paint thing off and it hasn't left any marks. So our car's fine, but I guess still not really an acceptable thing to be there in the first place. Also, I can't be sure that it wasn't Becky or myself when we got into the car, but I did find a tiny little bit of chewing gum. You know, like when chewing gum gets stuck to the bottom of your shoe? There was a tiny bit of that in the footwell passenger seat that was basically so far in there that you just couldn't get it out. Now when I say tiny, I mean tiny. It was like that big. It was so small that it looked like someone had noticed it and then gotten out most of it, but just they couldn't get that last little bit. Either way, not really a problem. I've got really nice fancy car mats over the top so you don't even notice. In terms of panel gaps, you see a lot of people complaining about Tesla panel gaps. I've personally not noticed any alignment issues on my car, and even if there were slight alignment issues, it doesn't seem like a big deal to me in my opinion, but I know that you might think differently. So yeah, in terms of your question, a couple of things to mention, but they were small things that we were able to sort out. So I think I was a lot luckier than some other customers that I've seen on YouTube. Do you think buying a Cybertruck when you already have a Model 3 will actually be worth it? And if so, what are you going to do with the Model 3? Oh goodness, so my why I bought a Tesla Cybertruck video got 250,000 views for some reason. And I'll level with you, the pre-order was mainly because I knew I'd probably get a good title out of it. At the moment, with my current financial situation, I would not go through with the purchase and buy a Tesla Cybertruck. But that's not to say that in 2 or 3 years when it eventually comes out, maybe I'll be doing financially better and I will be able to go through with the purchase. In which case, to go back to your question, it's not something that we really need, but I think that we could make some really fun and interesting YouTube videos with a Tesla Cybertruck, because have you seen it? A lot of people were asking about where we'd keep it based on my garage situation. We'd just have to rent a private garage somewhere nearby the house, I think, wouldn't we? We could put it on the drive, but I feel like that would attract a bit too much attention to the house. But yeah, I do hope that I will be in the position to buy a Cybertruck because it's just an amazing, weird thing. And as I said, we could do some really good videos out of it. Just make sure you subscribe to the channel because in 2 years' time, there might be some Cybertruck videos. And also, you know, we do do uploads twice a week at the minute. I don't know any other Tesla channels that are releasing this much content at the minute, so make sure you are subscribed. How much does the average supercharged stop cost? Doesn't cost me anything because 20 of you have used my referral, which means 20 people have bought a Tesla with my link. So now I have 20,000 miles of free supercharging to get through, which I don't think we'll ever get through. But if you're doing a near full charge of my experience, it's about £8, which is way cheaper than petrol, way cheaper than diesel, and charging at home, which is what Tesla owners do most of the time. That's a lot cheaper than superchargers still. So charging an electric vehicle is really, really cheap. Is there anything you don't like about your Tesla? So we're going to do a dedicated video on this once the lockdown's removed. So I don't want to reveal all the things that I don't like about the car, but I'll mention one, and that is the windscreen wipers are a bit of a faff on. So first of all, they're automatic wipers, but they're not quite sensitive enough, so when it does start raining, I find that I have to turn them on manually. And the second thing is, turning the windscreen wipers on manually is also pretty fiddly. So you have to go into the corner of the screen, open up the windscreen wiper menu, and then you select which speed you want, or if you want it on automatic. A slightly more efficient way of doing it is to click the windscreen washer thing, because that's an actual physical button. Then that brings up the menu on the screen, but then you still have to select the screen down here. And when you're driving, that's quite a fiddly thing to do because you have to be looking away from the road and looking at the screen to make sure that you're clicking the right part of it. Whereas on cars that have traditional physical buttons, you almost don't even need to look at them because once you know where the button is, you can just feel for it and do whatever you need to do without taking your eyes off the road. What was your parents / family / friends reaction when you bought the Tesla? So we actually recorded Becky's sister's reaction to us getting the car because we kept it a complete surprise from almost everyone. Now unfortunately I was recording it with the camera and the camera fell over before she got in, so all you hear is her audio, but we'll play her reaction now.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god, I'm gonna cry!
And then everyone else was very excited and happy for us, obviously. My mum was impressed with the car, but she was very nervous about it because it is a fast car. So it took her about 3 weeks, and I kept getting some weird WhatsApp messages where she was asking just very silly questions about the car. But eventually, after learning a lot more about the car, she stopped worrying about me. My granddad also didn't like when we took our hands off the wheel in one of the Autopilot videos, which I could understand because it is a very alien thing. But you all know that Teslas are one of, if not the safest car on the road. Hi Jack, driving instructors often wave to each other when they don't know the other person. Do Model 3 drivers do the same? If not, what do you think would be a suitable salute? Thanks Ashley. So we don't see many other Teslas where we live, so whenever we do see one, Becky and I are always far too excited about it. So we often do an impulse wave just out of the excitement. So far we've not had anyone wave back, but there is still hope, okay? So if you're in a Tesla and you see me, you know, do a little wave and I'll do one back, it'll be great. Where are you going to park the Cybertruck and who would drive it, you or Becky? I assume we'd both have a go. As I said earlier, we'd probably have to buy or rent a private garage nearby to keep it. I think if we're in a reality where I'm able to buy a Cybertruck, I'll hopefully also be in a reality where we're able to buy a house with a big private driveway. Whether that happens, you'll have to wait and find out. Hopefully we get a few more sponsorships. Have the voice commands got better since the last video you made on them? Yeah, so we tested them in our battery video and there was a big difference after a few software updates which have improved the stability of them. So let's have a look at the first time they came out. Fold mirrors. It's like it just can't handle you spamming the commands in terms of how often you're trying to get it to say stuff. Fold mirrors. Mirrors folding in. Nice. Unfold mirrors. See, but I'm wondering if it just needs a couple of seconds. It should be able to handle this, but I guess it can't at the moment. And now let's take a look at what they're like after a few software updates. Fold mirrors. Nailed it first time. We had some serious issues with my accent on that in the past. Unfold mirrors. Oh, fold mirrors. Unfold mirrors. This is way better. What is the hardest struggle when you first got the car? So the most difficult thing when we first bought the Tesla Model 3 was working out how to drive the Tesla Model 3. I watched hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos leading up to the purchase, but as soon as you're in the car and it's dark and it's raining and you're surrounded by Teslas and people judging you, everything went completely out the window and I couldn't even get the car to move. We don't actually know if the car's on or not because, you know, it doesn't have an engine or anything. So I'm going to just press the accelerator and see if we move. Like, where's the accelerator? Right, we didn't move. Okay, cool.
Now we figure
Oh,
out.
it's in park. Hang on, I remember this. Tap key and press brake to drive.
Oh
okay.
my God.
We're gonna try and move the vehicle, so apparently I have to put the key there and then press the brake. I feel like I've forgotten how to drive. Oh my God, lights have just come on. Okay, we're in drive, because watch. Right, you ready? I'm gonna press the... I'm really scared. Shift into D or R to drive. I don't know how to drive my car. How does the seat feel on your bum bum? Thanks for that, Joel. The seats are very, very comfortable. The fact that they've got heated seats, I've never had a car with heated seats, so that's a massive difference when it's cold. But even without the heated seats, they are really comfortable. There's so many buttons so that you can adjust this way. You can make the seat higher and lower. There's even like a lumbar support button that I think like pushes the bottom part of the seat out. Have you ever had anyone come up to you when getting in or out of the car and ask you about Teslas because they're considering one themselves? Yeah, there was actually a guy that knew me from the Tesla channel that saw us when we were walking our dogs. And when he saw the car in person, the main thing that he kept saying was just how nice the car looked in person. But I think he said he was planning on getting a Nissan Leaf instead. What was your first car? So after I passed my test, we rode about in my mum's Citroen C1. We borrowed this for about 6 months until my mum was like, can I have my car back, please? So then I bought the newer version of the Citroen C1, which we do still have. The Citroen C1 was great, it did everything that we needed, but its main drawback is just how small it was and how little you could get in the car. Unfortunately, a couple of years later, I was able to buy something a bit fancier, and I bought the Model 3, which is good because I don't think there'd be that many people interested in 2014 Citroen C1 videos. But as soon as the lockdown's finished, another video we want to do is compare both cars. It'd be fun to do things like a 0 to 60 in both. Have you ever considered sleeping in your Tesla Model 3? That will probably be the next video on this channel. I want to do the 24 hours in the Tesla video, but I'm going to wait till the lockdown's ended because I want to drive around and do things like watch the sunrise. But we're going to do a sleeping video where I just sleep in the car while it's in the garage, and I can document that experience and how much space I've got, what the camp mode's like, etc. And that's all the questions. You made it to the end. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. If you have made it this far in the video, you will probably enjoy my other videos. And I assume you probably keep clicking these videos in your recommended, but you haven't actually clicked that subscribe button. So if you haven't subscribed, please do, because it's completely free and you can just unsubscribe if you change your mind. Alright, let's end it there. We might do another Q&A in the future, so if you want to post any comments or questions, please do. Thank you for watching. Becky, thanks for getting through this edit because I stuttered and stumbled and repeated myself so many times. Alright, that's it. I'll see you later.